Hey guys, Xavier here from the Godcast, and I have a confession to make. I am not the leader of the Greek Orthodox Church, but I am a podcaster, and you should definitely check out our podcast, link to that in the description. However, if I were the leader of the Greek Orthodox Church, that means I would be called a patriarch. Similarly, great figures throughout history, such as Abraham, the founder of Judaism, and not founder, but rather a spiritual forerunner to Christianity and Islam, is entitled a patriarch. There are also other patriarchs in the Hebrew Bible, or in Christian terms, the Old Testament. However, if I were the leader of a heretical sect, I would be called a heresiarch. Today, we'll be talking about one of the most notable heresiarchs in Christian and human history altogether, Arius. But first, we must begin in a flourishing civilization in which Jewish, Greek, Roman, and Egyptian cultures coexisted and mixed alongside the relatively new religion of Christianity. This was in Egypt, and during the 3rd and 4th centuries of the Common Era, Arius, a presbyter of the church in Alexandria, began to formulate his own ideas about Christianity, specifically the Christology of Jesus, the central figure of the religion. The first 3 centuries of the Common Era gave rise to the texts of classical Gnosticism and great cultural diffusion, as evident in cities such as Cairo, Alexandria, and Karnak. By the way, stay tuned for a video on Sethian Gnosticism and Valentinian Gnosticism. During the same time, the 3rd and 4th centuries of the Common Era, Arius, a presbyter of the church in Alexandria, began to formulate his own ideas about Jesus and the Godhead. This led to one of the first major controversies of the church, during which the First Council of Nicaea was called by Constantine, the Trinity was adopted as an official doctrine of the church, the Nicene Creed was written, all of the books of Arius were burned, and anyone hiding them was ordered to be put to death, and subsequently all paintings depicting symbols or people in support of Arianism were censored, or the individuals who were in support of this movement were actually literally removed from the larger artwork. Today, Jehovah's Witnesses have been looked to as an example of Arians in the modern day, although this is debatable, as non-Trinitarian and Arian should not be equated as the same thing. For example, the Latter-day Saints movement does seem to have some traits with Arianism, same with Jehovah's Witnesses. However, it would be unfair to simply equate Arianism with non-Trinitarianism. But the question remains, what did Arius believe and teach that was so controversial? Well, it is first important to understand his approach to God and the New Testament. Arius was fascinated with Neoplatonism, a school of thought most popularly associated with Plotinus. Neoplatonism's greatest contribution to Christianity was the unknowability of God. Plotinus taught that the One, which was the quote-unquote God of Neoplatonic philosophy, was all-powerful and all-knowing, but ineffable, meaning completely and utterly unknowable. The One was also the source of all things and the one from what all emanated. This concept of emanationism, as well as unknowability, became instrumental in Gnostic theology, with later Gnostic thought going from Middle Platonism to Neoplatonism, with monad being adopted as the term for the Gnostic God, specifically in Sethianism, but more on that in another video. Also, Neoplatonism brings the concept of emanationism, which can be seen in the likes of the Druze religion and Ismailism, a sect or branch or quote-unquote denomination of Shia Islam. And this can also be seen in the occultic or occultist religions. But the question still remains, what does this have to do with Arianism? Well, Arius, armed with Neoplatonic teachings and a literalist view of the New Testament, did not understand how God, an ineffable thing, could become a man referred to as his son. Therefore, Arius reasoned that Jesus must have been the literal Son of God, not God incarnate, and not just some prophet off in the wilderness preaching, or off in the city preaching, or off in Jerusalem preaching, but rather the literal Son of God, the greatest being who God had put on earth, yet not God, but rather God's Son, and in turn, therefore, Jesus was a lesser being, but still the second most important in Christianity. God being the first most important being in all of the world, all of the universe, and all of everything, and Jesus being the forerunner, the second most important being. In fact, Arius made up a jingle. There was a time when he, Christ, was not. Arius' theology was in fact so popular that Gregory of Nyssa, a church father, wrote that one could not even go to a marketplace to buy products without getting into an argument with the merchants over the Christology of Jesus. The popularity of this theology led to an intervention of Constantine, with the First Council of Nicaea being called in the year 325. Arianism was strongly condemned. Anyone who had any books Arius had written, well, those books were ordered to be destroyed and the person was ordered to be killed. Arius was banished for a period of time from the empire, and the movement was severely suppressed within the Byzantine Empire. Even after the death of Arius, the impact of Arianism was still strong for many years. Take, for example, this map of Arian and Chalcedonian, being Trinitarian states, in the year 495. The Goths, Vandals, and Visigoths, very hard to say, embraced Arianism, with the Visigoths converting in 375, and Arianism remaining in Visigothic Spain until 589, with the Nicene First Council of Toledo converting everyone in the state to Chalcedonian, meaning Trinitarian Christianity. Arianism is truly the story of its founder, the controversy it caused, its systematic purging by the hands of Orthodox clergy following the Council of Nicaea, and its dominance in the West for years. As one may see, the ideas of Arius lived on well after his death, with the last Arian king of Europe dying in the late 7th or early 8th century.